Part 109. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 1109. As the God of the Void appeared, a wave of void creatures rushed out past the God of the Void, stretching to the end of the coalition's line of sight. And their number is still increasing. The gap in the void is like a bottomless pit, and void creatures are constantly spewing out, seeming to want to overwhelm the coalition forces with their numbers. Seeing this, Binghua also stood up from the throne. Although quantity sometimes is nothing in the face of absolute power, when the number exceeds a certain level, it will cause great trouble. At this moment, the God of the Void moved. He raised his majestic arms, raised his claws above his head, and the dazzling purple glow began to gather, bursting out with endless brilliance like the sun. There was no need for Binghua to remind him. Seeing this scene, the captains of the coalition forces ordered to disperse in horror. Even the sky blades stopped approaching each other and chose to spread out to reduce the area affected by the attack. Although the speed of the coalition forces is fast enough, it is still too slow compared to the speed at which the God of the Void accumulates energy. Binghua stared closely at the movements of the God of the Void, and found that his raised arms began to fall forward, and he warned the angels around him. Coming. Like the first beam of light that separated the chaotic world, the pitch-black starry sky was split into two by an endless torrent of purple energy. After 10 seconds, the purple energy torrent began to weaken, and finally slowly dissipated, leaving only clusters of purple energy flames burning in the void. Binghua put down the hand that was blocking his eyes and looked around to see a tragic scene. Except for the Skyblade battleship and some of the destroyers hiding behind the Skyblade, nearly one half of the coalition's fleet had been transformed as bits of burning metal debris. The space-time deflection shields of several Skyblades close to the core area of the Void God's attack have dissipated, and the exposed hulls are burning with purple void energy flames. Fortunately, when building the Skyblade, the materials used were relatively solid, and the Skyblade itself was large enough, so it was not directly evaporated like those small battleships. Without Binghua's reminder, Jingnan immediately began to confirm the loss of each Skyblade. The damage report was quickly tallied up. More than 10,000 angel warriors died in the attack of the God of the Void, 90% of which were battle angels on the more seriously damaged Skyblades. In addition, the first Angel Legion in the Just World also lost more than one layer of its members. Most of them were battle angels stationed in Destruction class and Destruction class battleships. They were evaporated together with the battleships. Although he knew that this battle would be difficult to fight, Binghua's heart still tightened when he suddenly heard that the loss had exceeded 30,000 in the blink of an eye. Fortunately, she perfected the reincarnation system of Merlot Heaven and Justice World before this war, and the Sacred Knowledge Treasury will automatically upload the dark information data of the fallen angels. Jingnan, how is the upload of the fallen angel dark information data? Is there any problem? While Binghua stared at the God of the Void's movements, he did not forget to ask Jingnan the question he was most concerned about. Jingnan immediately called up the projection, entered the interface of the Sacred Knowledge Treasury and began to check this information, and soon found the result. Queen, the data shows that all the dark information data of the fallen angels have been successfully uploaded. According to the research report of King Tianji, void energy will not distort or eliminate the dark information data too much. As long as the dark information can be extracted, we can restore it. Currently, only specific dark message elimination methods can completely destroy the dark messages of our angels. Hearing this, Binghua nodded, and the stone in her heart completely fell to the ground. Since the dark information data will not be affected by void energy, let's attack without any scruples. All Skyblades obey orders, target the Void God to attack. Without much nonsense, Binghua gave the order directly the moment he connected to all the angel channels. Hearing that some of the angels and warriors were in sorrow because they had lost too many sisters, they wiped their eyes, raised their weapons, and looked in the direction of the god of the void with cold expressions. Angels have always believed in justice, but after all, they are also intelligent creatures and have feelings. When the familiar sisters turned into ashes in front of their eyes, the feeling of losing a loved one made the karmic fire in their hearts that wanted revenge burn fiercely. Fear, hesitation and other things were all thrown away. After hearing the queen's order, the angels no longer huddled in the sky blade, because facts have proven that the sky blade is no longer safe. The angel warriors uniformly chose the fighting method they are best at, which is to break into the starry sky and use the sharp blades in their hands to avenge their sisters. In an instant, there were countless angel warriors charging forward in the universe. The white wings on their backs, the gorgeous armor, and their beautiful faces all told the surviving coalition forces behind them that only by moving forward and killing the enemy can they win. Have a chance to survive. The coalition forces also know the situation they are facing now. Even if they want to escape, it will be difficult to avoid the giant void beasts wandering in the universe. In the end, they will only end up with the entire army annihilated. In this case, why not follow the forces of the King of Angels and fight? Maybe they can successfully destroy the God of the Void, and then they can also brag to other civilizations that they and the angels have jointly solved a catastrophe in the universe. After the God of the Void sent out the previous blow, it seemed that he did not draw as crazy as before because he consumed too much void energy. He just opened his giant claws that seemed to be able to grasp stars, condensed a ball of intensely burning void energy and then threw it out, scattering into streaks of purple light and attacking the charging angel warriors. Although they tried their best to dodge, the attack of the God of the Void was too huge and too fast. Many angels were still covered by the incoming void energy flames. They were unable to even make a sound, and were eroded and burned into nothingness in the flames. Streams of light turned into flames of void energy thrown by the God of the Void passed through the charging angels. After burning out the angels on the path, they hit the Sky Blade's space-time deflection shield with unabated force. Compared with the previous torrent of void energy that seemed to be able to dissolve everything, although the void energy flame was much less powerful, it was like a real flame, eroding the space-time deflection shield while burning and consuming energy. Queen, the Sky Blade won't last long if this continues. The flames are too restraining our space-time deflection shield. Jingnan summarized the information and data uploaded by each Sky Blade and found that the time and space deflection shield of one Sky Blade had been overloaded, and said in a nervous tone. Hearing this, Binghua drew out his king sword from the void, his eyes fell on the void energy flames attached to the shield, and he began to use the eye of insight to analyze. Soon, Binghua understood the energy composition and working principle of the void energy flame, but she understood clearly, but she could not immediately change the nature of the Sky Blade's space-time deflection shield to resist this attack. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 1111. Binghua uploaded the result of his insight into the void energy flame into the vault of sacred knowledge. Although it may not have much effect, it still gave some angels who are proficient in algorithm programming a way to resist the void flame. After doing this, Binghua also spread her wings. Although it was inappropriate for her to be on the front line as the king of angels, she was the strongest combat power of the angel civilization. If she really shrinks back, not to mention the angel warriors under her command, even she will look down on herself. Queen, you must be careful. Jingnan did not stop his queen, all her worries and instructions were turned into these words. Don't worry, I'm the king of angels. Failure has never been with me. As soon as Binghua's words fell, dazzling thunder and lightning appeared all over his body. The next moment, it turned into a stream of light and shot out, leaving behind a series of dancing arcs along the way. At the same time, they experienced a rather arduous charge, and after losing many of their companions, the first and second angel legions and the battle angels of the Merlot heaven finally entered the universe close to the God of the Void. but what awaits them is not the gaze cast by the god of the void himself, but countless types of void creatures. They have various shapes, but the only thing they have in common is the void energy surging in the purple veins on their bodies. Of course, the angel warriors would not blindly use the sharp blades in their hands to fight these dangerous creatures in close combat. The blazing flames slashed the void creatures on the flight path in half. The bombardment of burning flames will incinerate all enemies in the area. Hundreds of thousands of angel warriors are equivalent to holding hundreds of thousands of reusable miniature nuclear bombs. Their burst of power will wipe out all approaching void creatures. Tide-like void creatures constantly try to drown this power, but they are always swallowed up by the continuous bursts of flames. But there is a time when the flame burns out. With such a high-intensity algorithm and energy drive, it is impossible for the angel warriors to maintain it forever. But they are not fighting alone. Behind them, dozens of sky blades and large coalition warships are struggling to move forward amid the attack of the god of the void. The beams and blazing glow continued to sweep across the surrounding starry sky, annihilating a large number of void creatures. Even though the ship's hull was in dilapidated condition, they still did not stop. Suddenly there seemed to be thunder in the universe, and a large area of thunder and lightning spread forward in a fan shape. The void creatures trembled and turned into ashes in the lightning. And Binghua's figure was clearly visible in this thunderous torrent, which made the angel warriors who had fought hard for a long time excitedly shout the name of the queen, goddess. Just like a thirsty traveler drinking a handful of clear spring, the slightly tired nerves of the angels regained a little vitality under the injection of power brought by this emotion. When Binghua came to the front line, the high-ranking angels and god-level angels in the Angel Legion, including Ran, Elan and other holy winged angels, all knew that it was time to work hard to open a passage for the queen. The body of the god of the void is too majestic and huge. No angel except the queen has the confidence to destroy him in a short time. Therefore, only the queen can complete this task. Queen, let me clear the way for you. Ran fiercely rushed out of the defensive circle of the angel warriors, and the thunder power surged crazily from the thunder sword in his hand, and then turned into thunder and lightning strikes to forcefully open up a passage among the dense void creatures. Binghua rushed into this passage without any hesitation, not caring about the void creatures around him who wanted to break through the thunder energy impact and get closer. Although Ran had used her maximum strength, she still had a distance limit. Seeing the void creatures gradually closing up and using their bodies to block the thunderous impact she released, she was so angry that her teeth itched. Don't worry, leave the rest to me. At some point, Ailan also rushed into the passage opened by Ran, and her anxious and worried voice happened to sound. Queen Binghua, we must kill her, and for this we will fight all the fallen angel warriors. After Ailan finished speaking, she suddenly stopped charging and followed Binghua. A dazzling energy glow bloomed all over her body. Finally, all of this energy was concentrated into the flaming sword she held high. Like a slowly rising sunday, the surrounding area was stained with red. Skyblade Judgment. Elan yelled unconsciously, and poured out the majestic energy he had accumulated, like a sword of fire that pierced the darkness, poking a big hole in the void group of creatures. The tone of your last words really annoys me. If you die, I will not let you go after you are reincarnated. With the help of Elan's attack, Binghua finally passed through the area with the densest concentration of void creatures like lightning, but he also left a very dissatisfied message in the communication. Elan, who was surrounded by void creatures, heard Binghua's slightly annoyed voice in the communication and laughed. Alan, how long are you going to be in a daze? Attack backwards and we will pick you up. Ran's voice sounded immediately, causing Elan, who was watching Binghua go away, to come back to his senses. Facing the already thin group of void creatures, Binghua waved his hand and the space around him rippled, and silver blades shot out, flying rapidly around Binghua. I could see the silvery cold light appearing and disappearing in the starry sky, and the death zone formed by the interweaving of silver feathers hundreds of times the length of the palm, which no void creature could cross. Wherever the ice glacier flies past, all that is left behind are the corpses of void creatures that have been cut into pieces. Binghua was like a pebble stirring up the calm water, attracting the attention of the god of the void. Although the god of the void had no eyes, Binghua could feel that he was being watched. The next moment, without any warning, a massive amount of void energy came over, and the surrounding void creatures instantly turned into original energy particles and dissipated. Binghua also used the force field to prop up a shield around herself at the most critical moment to protect herself. It's like the only remaining bubble in a sea water formed by void energy, stubbornly resisting the pressure coming from all directions. Finally, the pressure disappeared, and Binghua dispersed the force field in time, but it did not let the force field dissipate, but gathered around it and condensed at any time. It seemed that Binghua's survival made the god of the void feel surprised. His majestic body finally slowly turned around, and his huge head like a star lowered slightly. Binghua also raised his head and looked at the god of the void. It was obvious that the size difference between the two was like dust and the sea, but there seemed to be invisible forces colliding with each other. Finally, the god of the void moved, as if he saw an eyesore bug swaying in front of his eyes, waving his giant claws that covered the sky to drive them away. Of course, this is only relative to the god of the void himself. For Binghua, it is as if the entire universe is hostile to him and is fighting against him. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 1112. Binghua's only response to this was to use attack against attack, and spear against spear. The star power source loaded on the Titan's grip erupted into a terrifying flame that seemed to melt through the force field that restricted it. The infinite energy was converted by algorithms into a solid force field that spread endlessly outwards. Binghua has never driven the Titan's grip with such full force as it does today. The terrifying power that can move stars and tear apart continents collides with the giant claws of the void that are coming from the universe. The terrifying impact, like a planetary explosion, shook all the void creatures in the nearby space into powder and turned into a brilliant, diffuse ring-shaped energy wave until it disappeared into the starry sky. Binghua's frown finally relaxed slightly as she watched this scene, because she discovered that the god of the void was not invincible. Since she can defeat him, why should she worry too much? She only needs to use her best killing skills to kill him here, just like what she has done for tens of thousands of years. Without too much hesitation, the force field that could tear apart the planet condensed into a giant fist that looked like a solid body and was blasted out, hitting the god of the void right in the face. As if he was really punched, the god of the void tilted his head back slightly, and then he stabilized his body, and the real void impact spread out as he opened his huge mouth and roared, setting off waves of void storms. But these little tricks were enough to clean up ordinary soldiers. When they came to Binghua, they were automatically divided into two halves, and they passed over Binghua, who was the main target, like a split wave. Seeing this, the god of the void opened his two giant arms, and the purple void energy immediately surged, and the next moment countless needle-like rays were emitted. Although the god of the void is the size of a pinhead compared to himself, for Binghua, every ray scattered by the god of the void can cover her and the entire surrounding area. Facing the attack that covered the entire area of sight, Binghua did not choose to block, but relied on her small size to shuttle through the gaps in the attack, dodging void rays that were enough to punch a big hole in the planet. When the attack of the god of the void came to an end, Binghua took action. The space next to him connected with the weapons arsenal, and the flaming swords poked out their sword tips. Firebombing algorithm, fully imported. Binghua relied on Semiro's computing power to continuously introduce the flame bombing algorithm, and the flaming swords protruding around Binghua began to light up quickly. From opening the wormhole in China Unicom's weapons depot to completing the flame bombardment, it took only 2 seconds. Before the God of the Void's next blow came, Binghua's counterattack fell on him first. Blossoms of red flames rose up from the broad chest of the God of the Void, consuming the void energy that made up his body. After consuming thousands of flaming swords in stock, Binghua stopped attacking because the effect was not great and the damage caused was too low for the God of the Void. As for releasing the star from the miniature star catcher, relying on it to burn the God of the Void is somewhat unrealistic, because the other party has proven that even the explosion of the star cannot kill him. In this case, instead of wasting a star and letting this place become a dead place where ordinary super soldiers cannot stand, it is better to use it to do something more efficient. For example, at this moment, Binghua raised his hand and spread his fingers, quickly completing the spatial coordinate calculation and positioning. A large space above his head suddenly solidified, and the next moment the space replacement algorithm started. Unlike before, Binghua, who has already done extensive research on space replacement algorithms, has been able to perform space replacement within the planetary system to a certain extent. The originally empty space suddenly turned into a scorching energy space filled with ultra-high temperature plasma, and the star in orbit behind it suddenly lost a corner. The ice flower used the force field as a guide to restrain the blazing ultra-high temperature plasma, lift it up and shape it into a huge orange-gold curtain to cover the God of the Void. "I'll give you a bath, I hope you like it?" Binghua shouted involuntarily, as if he were a mortal challenging the Titan, but this mortal was so special that he could set off a raging wave of flames that could drown the Titan. The God of the Void subconsciously raised his giant arm to block in front of him, but the next moment he was overwhelmed by the blazing high-temperature plasma. The void energy and ultra-high temperature plasma continued to collide and annihilate each other. The God of the Void waved his giant arms as if he felt pain to disperse the ultra-high temperature plasma attached to his body. On an asteroid in the distance close to the gap of the Void, a group of people were standing here observing the confrontation between the God of the Void and the King of Angels in the distance. "Principal, why don't we take action?" Judging from the performance of Void Consciousness, he seems to be unable to take down the King of Angels. Next to the Space Principal, a man with a handsome face wearing pitch-black armor and carrying a giant sword spoke in a deep voice. "I can provide sniper support. It is impossible for the King of Angels to defend against my sniper while fighting against the Void Consciousness." Leaning against the erected rock pillar, the woman with long black hair and blue eyes reached out and put her hand on a heavy weapon that was almost the same height as her. "Biao Shui, your targeted sniper attack is very powerful, but don't forget that this is not more than 10,000 years ago. The advanced space wormhole technology will make your target appear in front of you instantly." The burly man with short, sleek hair who hugged his chest opened his eyes and warned aloud. Although the King of Angels is powerful, her force field only needs to be dismantled and analyzed to render her methods useless. Kasha, who had long black hair and a pair of magnificent purple eyes, turned off the projection in front of her. "Principal, the big clock has completed its self-test and can operate at full capacity at any time." Kasha said something towards the space, and then said something in a complicated tone. "I didn't expect that I would face you in the end, Binghua. Although it is unethical to attack our former partners, for the sake of the Kamigawa civilization, we have no choice." Next to Kaisha, her senior sister Lan Bing also had a somewhat complicated tone. As a former remnant of Kamigawa, she had given up hope of restoring Kamigawa civilization. But during the supernova explosion in the Dino system more than 10,000 years ago, the Space Principal took them, the remnants of Kamigawa, and the powerful God-making project affiliated to Kamigawa away from the Super Seminary in advance. What followed was a slumber that lasted for thousands of years, and the Space Principal began a journey to explore the void. In order to prevent himself from being infected by the energy of the void and affecting his spirit, Space even abandoned his body. With such dedication, Space naturally gained extremely important information. As a data body, he wandered in the void universe for thousands of years, and finally found the reason for the demise of the Kamigawa civilization and the possibility of restoring the Kamigawa civilization's former glory. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 1113. One of the prerequisites for restoring the Kamigawa civilization to its former glory is that void energy can infect enough star fields in the main biological universe. More than 30,000 years ago, after the Kamigawa civilization dominated the known universe for tens of thousands of years, they had no opponents and began to study some technologies that were previously taboo. One of the technologies is hyperspace teleportation. The Kamigawa civilization is trying to break down the barriers of the main biological universe, carve out a passage to other universes, and explore new things to satisfy its growing desire for research. Because when limited life is no longer a problem, researchers' desire to study new things will also be endless. So in the end, the Kamigawa civilization discovered the void universe, but the void energy was not easily controllable by the Kamigawa civilization at that time, not to mention that the void energy would corrode the main biological universe. Moreover, the void universe has some basic consciousness, and it will grant those who embrace the void control over the void energy to expand their influence. The person who finally wanted to bring void technology to the forefront opened a giant void rift. The void universe, which had long been involved with the main biological universe, immediately introduced a massive amount of void energy into the main biological universe, infecting the Kamigawa civilization. The parent star of origin. The god of the void appears in the main biological universe, and the Kamigawa civilization is known as the cradle of gods. The gods who control absolute power naturally cannot allow the god of the void to destroy their homeland. So a war between gods began, but the final result surprised everyone. God was no match for the god of the void. However, Kamigawa has been able to exist for so long. Although their scientific researchers are extremely curious about new things, they are not stupid people without foresight. The Kamigawa people used some means to remotely close the super time portal that maintained the appearance of the god of the void. The god of the void, which was already a sourceless water, used all his energy to affect the stars in the Kamigawa galaxy, allowing them to quickly complete the supernova. Change. A sudden supernova destroyed the core of the Kamigawa civilization and most of its territory. The remaining Kamigawa survivors found some records about the energy of the void, fell into fear of the void, and divided into two factions. One group is the academic group headed by Space. They believe that the void is some kind of higher-level civilization, because Shenhe posed a threat to them, thus destroying Shenhe. Therefore, the remnants of Kamigawa, led by Space, thought of a way to fight, that is, to spread Kamigawa's fire throughout the universe, and use the power of the entire universe to fight against the existence of Kamigawa that destroyed Kamigawa. The initial concept of the Super Seminary was proposed. The surviving Kamigawa scholars dispersed to the civilizations recorded in various Kamigawa star maps, began to spread Kamigawa's knowledge and ideas, and brought these civilizations on the road to God creation. This is the reason why the Super Seminary was established, while the other faction intends to study and use the power to destroy the Kamigawa civilization to avoid making the same mistakes again. In the end, they chose to embrace the void as a whole, entered the void universe, established a divine river that existed in the void universe, and worshipped the void as a god with the purpose of developing and utilizing void energy. During the thousands of years of wandering in the void universe, they came into contact with this part of the Kamigawa remnants who chose the void. Space, which had long lost hope in rebuilding the Kamigawa civilization, revived the idea of establishing the Kamigawa civilization in the process of talking with these Kamigawa people living in the void. But over a long period of time, the Kamigawa people living in the void universe have already become one with the energy of the void. If they want to survive in the known universe, they must allow the void to expand to a certain extent in the main biological universe. Just a crack is not enough. In order for the Kamigawa people to stand at the top of the universe again and restore the glory of the old Kamigawa civilization, space finally chose to embrace the void. It is no longer important whether space actively embraces void, or whether void invades space. Returning to the space of the main biological universe, I found that Carl, his student who stayed in the main biological universe, was on a different path in his research on the void. Instead of being affected and infected by void energy, Carl used the void matter extracted from the black hole like a genius to transform himself into an illusory body that relied on the existence of the great clock. At the same time, the void engine was creatively developed using the theory of void matter and gene engine, which extracts void energy through the transformation of void matter, filters out the infecting factors in it, and controls and uses it purely as a kind of energy. Carl even wanted to rely on this technology to create an era of void and make himself the greatest wise man praised by the entire universe. If he were the space principal before entering the void universe, he would have praised Carl greatly, but now the teacher and student are on different paths. After talking to Carl and confirming that the other party would not change his mind, the space principal chose to give up his plan to reveal his plan to Carl, because Carl was not a remnant of Kamigawa and had no idea whether the glory of Kamigawa civilization could be restored. Don't care. But in the process of talking with Carl, space secretly guided Carl's research direction on the void. This is one of the reasons why Carl suddenly opened a portal to the void universe in his Death Song Academy. At the same time, it was also the reason why Binghua led the team to behead Carl and saw Carl and the gods under his command fighting with the void creatures in the Death Song Academy, because Carl did not expect that there would be such danger behind the portal of the void universe. Just when space was waiting for the void to spread in the river Styx, and took the opportunity to cause trouble to expand the scope of influence, no one expected that Binghua would cut through the mess with a sharp knife and seal up Carl. The research data of the Death Song Academy were also transferred, and the portal to the void was destroyed by Ice Flower, causing the space plan to fail as soon as it was launched. However, as the saying goes, good fortune and misfortune depend on each other. The plan to use his students to open the void portal failed, but the big clock fell into a situation where no one was in charge. Binghua had no time to deal with the big clock because of Huaye's affairs. After that, problems such as the triangle appeared one after another, and the problem of the big clock was put on hold. It was during this time that space awakened the remnants of Kamigawa who once followed him. Among them, Kaisha, as a supplementary to the theory of the celestial computer of the dark plane, spent a period of time completing the authority-cracking changes to the masterless clock. In the sealed state, Carl lost control of the big clock, and the big clock finally returned to its original owner, the space principal. When the space principal planned to slowly tinker with the void portal, Liang entered the Styx galaxy and was very interested in the void technology mastered by Carl. He searched everywhere for Carl's research information. So space satisfied Liang's curiosity, and handed over the void knowledge he possessed to Liang's civilization through Carl's research institute. So everything happened smoothly. Liang discovered the powerful growth potential of void creatures, became curious about them, and personally cultivated a powerful enough void monster, and created a small void channel for experiments. When Dilana destroyed the void creature, the space principal, who had been prepared for a long time, anchored the permanent void rift with the help of the void energy that had not yet dissipated and diluted. Later, there was the deliberate guidance of space, and there was also the carelessness of the Liang civilization, so that the void rift finally evolved into a void that could not be dealt with. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 1115. The space crew had no intention of helping the god of the void. In the final analysis, although they chose to embrace the void, as scientific researchers, they were more rational than those mortals who worshipped the void as a god. From the perspective of people like space, the relationship between them and the void is more like a relationship of mutual utilization than of subordination. Although in order to become stronger, they need to let the energy of the void infect more star fields and universes, but this does not mean that they will sit back and watch the will of the void truly take shape. For example, just like when the blazing sun exploded, the newly condensed god of the void, space, and others did not stop it, because this could delay the formation of the god of the void. When the void truly establishes a foothold in this starry sky, the god of the void, which is condensed in this universe, will also gain enough wisdom over a long period of time to better exercise its power. And there is another idea in space that needs to be verified. Now that he has no body, it is very inconvenient to do anything. He urgently needs a powerful body that can help him complete his plan, and the god of the void is very good. It just so happens that he still has a piece of void matter left over from the development of black holes more than 10,000 years ago. Relying on the theory of his student Carl and the computing power of the big clock, the possibility of completing this plan is very high. After discovering that the space principal did not intend to take the opportunity to deal with the King of Angels, the Kamigawa survivors stopped talking and continued to watch the battle in the distance. They wanted to know how the King of Angels could defeat the God of the Void. After all, the size of both sides was there. Among the technical methods currently exposed by the King of Angels, the most destructive is the method of transporting stars. But it is somewhat unrealistic to rely on this to destroy the God of the Void, because the God of the Void's energy reserves are enough to support him from leaving the maximum killing range of the star. After some entanglement, Binghua and the God of the Void were both injured. The commonly used weapons in Binghua's arsenal were used over and over again, and the wear and tear was a bit serious. The God of the Void's chest and arms were pitted, and he was extracting energy from the surroundings to repair his injuries. His majestic body still stood there. Really, no matter how strong your recovery ability is, there should be an upper limit. It's too foul to have such a large body and have so much energy reserve. Binghua said to himself, as if he was talking to himself. If Binghua didn't have a star-level energy source as a reserve and Samilo's supercomputer support, let alone facing the God of the Void head-on, he would have survived. Do you want to use those things? No, even if they are used, they probably won't have any effect. Binghua rejected his idea, because the executor class made by Samilo was okay against a war god of similar size to himself, but against the God of the Void, it would be a complete death. Even if Prototype 101 is teleported over and the body of his celestial level suppression weapon is liberated, it may not have much effect. The only cutting-edge weapons left in the arsenal are the neutron blade cutting type, as well as some more conventional items such as the destruction star blade components, the god beaming lock, silver feathers, and silver wings. There are still 5 miniature star catchers in stock, but they cannot solve the current problem. Even if they are used, they will only add 5 more stars here. Any method that cannot kill the God of the Void instantly should not be exposed. Binghua did not forget the existence of the space principle. He was like a poisonous snake hiding in the dark, and might jump out and bite him at any time. Queen, the Skyblade battle group has passed through the Void creature group, and the God of the Void has entered the shooting range. Do you need fire support? Jingnan's voice sounded in Binghua's ears, like the legendary sound of nature, and Binghua replied with a smile on his face. Of course, aim at the God of the Void and use the most powerful star-destroying strike to hit me. As soon as Binghua's voice reached the ears of Jingnan, who was the commander, the task of attacking the God of the Void was immediately assigned to all the Skyblade captains. Several of the Skyblade warships that were spraying endless spears of light around to attack the approaching Void creatures group stopped bombing. Immediately, a crimson energy vortex appeared in the Void in front of the Skyblade, and began to gather huge energy. Tens of seconds later, blazing light pillars pierced the body of the God of the Void like swords of light breaking through the darkness. The terrifying energy exploded on the body of the God of the Void, forming balls of surging and rolling energy flames. Although the Skyblade is bulky, its most powerful strike method can destroy a planet to a certain extent, not to mention the god of the void who can withstand the blows of so many sky blades at the same time. Under the wash of terrifying energy, the god of the void no longer had the luxury he had before, and one part of his body was directly penetrated by the continuous blazing glow. As if feeling a fatal threat, the god of the void raised his arms to block the incoming blazing light. The barrier formed by the surging void energy finally blocked the star-destroying strikes launched by several sky blades. Naturally, the sky blades could not maintain such a powerful power output mode forever. Soon the sky blades that launched the Star Destroyer strike had to stop releasing energy because they needed to be recharged. Seeing this, the god of the void raised his giant arm originally used to block the attack, and the surging void energy gathered was thrown out in the next moment. Like an overwhelming raging wave, several sky blades were swallowed up without even having time to move and dodge. After the wave of void flames dissipated, only a few paralyzed and broken sky blades remained in place, slowly burning by the void flames. But the next round of Star Destroyer strikes had already been launched. The god of the void moved his majestic body, but the target was too big to avoid, so he could only continue to resist. During the period when Skyblade was competing with the god of the void, Binghua was not idle either. After all, such a good opportunity was just right for a big scene. Samilo, connect to the weapon arsenal, activate the Destruction Star Blade component, and activate the entire range. Following Binghua's order, the wormhole in the Unicom weapons depot was opened to its maximum, and then densely packed flying blades flew out of it, combining with each other and extending to the surroundings. A sky-reaching giant blade is slowly taking shape near the god of the void. Binghua is hanging at the end of the giant blade, using the power source of the Titan's hand armor to power it, and at the same time, indirectly drive the Star Blade of Destruction. But this was not enough. As Binghua continued to increase its energy supply, the Star Blade of Destruction began to expand, and energy circuit lines formed by the sacred language appeared on the surface. Driven by stellar energy, the mass energy algorithm is fully activated, the sword body continues to expand, and dark energy cutting is also simultaneously activated. With the sword body as the bone and energy as the blade, the Destruction Star Blade once again expanded and extended for the second time. When the god of the void noticed all this, a blazing giant blade had already appeared on his side. With surging energy the blade was facing his majestic body. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 1116. Near the already formed star-severing blade, there was the unusually small Binghua. She was hanging next to the star-severing blade, with her 5 fingers covering the Titan's grip fully spread out, using a force field to operate this weapon that was countless times larger than her. Super weapon. I don't have time to worry about so much. I feel really bad about not splitting you in half when I have such a good opportunity. Binghua said to himself, because the Titan's grip was driven with all his strength, the active dark energy painted Binghua's original dark eyes with a faint golden red. The next moment, the star-severing blade was driven by the force field and struck down towards the god of the void, like the creation blade that divided the darkness, leveling all obstacles in front of it. The god of the void had no time to dodge at this moment. He raised his 2 giant arms to grab the star-severing blade, trying to stop it from falling. 2 huge energies collided with each other. One was the materialized void energy that constituted the body of the god of the void, and the other was a blade formed by the dark energy flames transformed from the energy released by the star-level energy source. The energy edge of the star-severing blade constantly collides with the claws of the god of the void, spreading energy aftermath that can destroy everything to the surroundings every moment. Binghua continued to increase its output, even ignoring the upper limit of the carrying capacity of Titan's grip and Destruction Star Blade, but the effect achieved was not obvious. Because both Ice Flower and the God of the Void are not short of energy replenishment. One can use the sealed stars to supply energy, and the other can extract the surrounding void energy at any time to replenish itself. There was a stalemate for a while. The star-severing blade could not fall and split the God of the Void in half, and the God of the Void could not destroy the star-severing blade. Only the flash of energy in the center of the collision between the two parties still tells everyone that the two are still fighting each other. Hurry up! Support the Queen, aim the sky blade at the arm of the God of the Void and interrupt him. Fortunately, Binghua was not alone. There were many sky blades that had broken into the nearby universe. The angel warriors spontaneously began to guard the sky blades to prevent void creatures from approaching and interfering. The sky blades all turned around and faced the God of the Void. In the next moment, the red energy vortex began to gather energy, and then blazing energy rays that could penetrate the stars were shot out. Dozens of star-destroying strikes struck together, aiming at the giant arm used by the God of the Void to resist the star-severing blade. In just an instant, several gaps were opened in the giant arm of the God of the Void, and they were getting bigger and bigger. The God of the Void roared angrily, but apart from setting off a storm of void energy, it had no effect. Finally, under the concentrated fire attack of the Sky Blade, the God of the Void was finally unable to resist the attack of the Sky Blade while resisting the star-severing blade. The two majestic giant arms were blasted into countless void energy fragments from the middle. After there was no obstacle, the star-severing blade finally fell down and hit the God of the Void on the head. This time, without the energy resistance gathered by the God of the Void, the star-severing blade sank into his head smoothly, and went all the way down to the core of the God of the Void's chest. In front of this black hole-like purple energy core, the star-severing blade once again encountered every obstacle. However, compared to before, the star-severing blade was falling away little by little, consuming the outer defense of the energy core. In the end, the energy core of the God of the Void was cut into by the star-severing blade, lost its stability and suddenly exploded. This was an explosion even more terrifying than a planetary explosion. The surging void energy turned into a sweeping impact, crushing any creature in this space into nothingness. The God of the Void was also wiped out in this explosion and turned into invisible void energy again, making it difficult to regain his form in a short period of time. The star-severing blade also disintegrated due to the explosion of the God of Void's energy core, turning into flying blades scattered throughout the universe. Binghua also felt uncomfortable. Although the final explosion failed to blow her to pieces, the impact of the diffuse void energy just hit her body. Because when the Void God exploded, her force field was used to maintain the star-severing blade, so there was not enough force field to build a defensive barrier. At this moment, Binghua suddenly noticed that her vision went dark. She didn't know what was going on and immediately began to examine her body. "Goddess, we have detected that the surrounding void energy intensity has begun to rise rapidly. It is recommended that you leave this area immediately." Samilo's reminder sounded at this time, and at the same time, Binghua also discovered that the environment around him began to undergo special changes, which was purple void energy that seemed to be condensed into substance. Hasn't the God of the Void been destroyed yet? As soon as this thought appeared in Binghua's mind, a figure suddenly shuttled out of the void behind Binghua, and the short blade with an unknown purple glow in his hand quickly approached her back. Silvery cold light passed through the space, and the figure approaching Binghua quickly retreated and opened the distance, otherwise it would have been broken into several segments at this moment. A dozen silver feathers beside Binghua slowly stopped and spread out around like guards, guarding against unknown enemies. "Kamigawa Dark Blade, Amo Shui, since you are alive, it means that the other gods of Kamigawa are also alive. It seems that there was a lot of trouble in the destruction of the Dino Galaxy." Haiwa turned around and found that he knew the being who attacked him. He was once the captain of one of the few elite troops under the command of Space, and the super gene carrier of Kamigawa's Dark Blade. Amo Shui did not answer Binghua's words, but slowly retreated and disappeared into the void again. Just when Binghua focused his attention on Mo Shui, a graceful figure fired a gun on a floating asteroid more than 10 kilometers away. A silver slender bullet shot across a distance of more than 10 kilometers, but Binghua just turned his body to avoid the shot. Kamigawa sniper, since you are here, sister, you will naturally not be left behind. Although Binghua had just experienced a tough battle and her weapons were severely damaged, two super soldiers with old models also wanted to deal with her. Don't be kidding. At the same time, the surviving angel warriors also encountered some enemies, which were the affiliated animal civilization that once belonged to the Death Song Academy. Now they suddenly appeared with their own civilization's fleet and launched an attack on the Skyblade battle group. Of course, it is sheer fantasy to rely on their strength to pose a threat to the Skyblade battle group, but some special individuals mixed in among them have caused a lot of trouble for the angels. According to the scanning results of the Eye of Insight, mixed in the beast civilization, there are actually super genes of the third generation of half-beast warriors. Of course it is not complete, just some of the super genetic characteristics, but the bodies of these warriors of the animal civilization not only have super genes, but also have some characteristics of void creatures. This makes these animal civilization super warriors extremely difficult to deal with, because void energy has a defensive effect on dark energy, and this is their home field. It takes a lot of effort for ordinary angel warriors to deal with them. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 1117. The king's sword in Binghua's hand collided with a pitch-black giant sword in the air, emitting a brilliant burst of energy. It seems you have hidden a lot of power. Who are you? As Binghua spoke, he turned around and Wang Jian forced Mo Shui back, who suddenly shuttled out. The man behind him who wanted to take the opportunity to attack was blocked by the group of silver feathers that shuttled and cut. It was obvious that they came to besiege the King of Angels while he was weak after the battle with the God of Void, but now it seemed as if the King of Angels had come to trouble them, with a relaxed and comfortable attitude. This made several Kamigawa war gods who fought Haihua doubt their lives. It was clear that Haihua did not drive much powerful energy, but he could always easily destroy their attacks. Dino's god-killing bullet, Void Martial, and the power of Kamigawa's anti-void. It would be too much for you to use these outdated technologies against me. Behind Binghua, the angel wings spread out and floated upward to avoid the sniper attack and Mo Shui's sneak attack. He watched the three of them speak relaxedly. Maybe there is something wrong with Space's brain. Although Dino's god-killing bullet is powerful, it depends on who it hits. It is no longer a secret that Void Martial Arts is in the battle with Carl. As for the so-called anti-void, Binghua's Ge Xiaolun super gene has long been thoroughly studied by Binghua, and it is extremely easy to counterattack. That's why Hyoka seemed a little confused. It's hard to say how weak these three Kamigawa war gods are. One is good at stealth and sneak attacks, one is a long-range sniper, and the other has the power of Kamigawa with an invincible body. Although I don't know the name of this power of Kamigawa, judging from his proficiency in using the gene engine, he is considered qualified. At least he can bring out the characteristics of the power of Kamigawa's super gene. What should I do? She is too keen and I can't get close to her at all. Mo Shui appeared near the power of the divine river, and a deep voice sounded in the communication. Me too. She should be supported by a celestial level computer. My sniper trajectory can be easily calculated. Mo ran, who was more than 10 kilometers away, put down the god-killing sniper rifle in his hand and spoke with some frustration. It's not that she doesn't want to get closer, but if she gets closer and lacks any defense means, she will most likely be killed by the King of Angels. Damn it, if I had known earlier, I would have worked with the Void Will to deal with the King of Angels first. The power of Kamigawa regretted not insisting on his opinion before. Binghua looked at the three people who were waiting with a relaxed smile, and secretly had been driving the secondary biological engine to convert dark energy to repair the sacred atoms that had been damaged by the explosion of the God of the Void. As for the harassment suffered by the Skyblade battle group, Binghua had already received a report from Jingnan, and she did not expect that space would actually drive animal civilization to attack the Skyblade fleet group. And looking at the scan data of Tianren, the space used part of Sun Wukong's genetic data on the warriors of the animal civilization and worked with void energy to create a kind of quick super warrior. While the three Kamigawa war gods who came to besiege the King of Angels were locked in a bitter fight, several Kamigawa war gods who could compete with the sacred wings emerged from the animal civilization attacking the Skyblade battle group. If it weren't for this, the fleet of the beast civilization would have been killed and retreated long ago, instead of being able to compete with the angels like it is now. As a huge arc of purple energy flashed through the void, a gap was opened in the space-time deflection shield of a Skyblade. The next second, a group of beast-shaped civilized warriors driving small aircraft poured in through this gap. The leader was a man with a firm face, wearing pitch-black armor, and holding a single-edged battle axe. Facing the intruders, the angel warriors immediately gathered together and began to clear out the beast warriors and small aircraft to protect the safety of the Skyblade. The only thing that made the angels find it difficult was the man who looked completely different from the beast warrior. He was just standing there, emitting energy fluctuations like a mountain that could not be ignored. An angel warrior stepped forward to attack, but was easily killed. The ferocious battle axe easily split the flaming sword blocked by the high-level angel and embedded itself in his body. "If you want to die, just do it one by one." The man spoke out. Although his tone was calm, the meaning behind his words was extremely arrogant. Just then, a god-level angel arrived nearby. Upon seeing this, the flaming sword in his hand immediately gathered red energy and swept it out. Seeing the strong void energy rising around him, the man just raised his battle axe to block it in front of him, and the next moment he was overwhelmed by the glow of the incoming fiery energy. But the god-level angel who launched the attack didn't have much joy on his face, because judging from the intensity of energy radiation emitted by the opponent before, it seemed that the opponent was a genuine third-generation god. And with the physical strength of the third-generation god, it would be difficult to cause damage to it unless the god-killing weapon penetrates the body or attacks with super gene decomposition characteristics. "You're really strong. If I hadn't upgraded, I might have been melted by you." In the crater created by the dissipated glow of hot energy, the man moved the battle axe in front of him and said regretfully. But just then a familiar voice sounded. "Texas, I didn't expect you to be alive." "Ah, although I knew that I would probably encounter you when I participated in this battle, I didn't expect that I would actually encounter you. Fortunately, I chose the most remote place to attack. I haven't seen Jingnan for a long time, it seems to be more than 10,000 years." Texas said with a somewhat unnatural look, and at the same time put the tomahawk on his shoulder, losing the desire to continue. The angels around them also did not attack, because the Queen's auxiliary officer intervened. To show respect, he waited until the two of them finished talking. But the animal warriors who came in were not so lucky, and their numbers quickly began to decline under the encirclement and suppression of the angel warriors. Jingnan stayed in the flagship and stared at the figure buried deep in his memory, almost completely forgotten, through the projection, and sighed. "Although I also want to say long time no see, the current situation is that we have become enemies. Texas, do you and the super seminary behind you really want to be enemies of angelic civilization? It's obviously hard for you to survive." Jingnan, who was once in love, had some favorable impressions of Texas, but the cultural differences between the two civilizations, as well as his gradually maturing mind, ultimately limited this favorable impression to just a favorable impression. "Although I really want to say that I am fighting to restore the glory of Kamigawa civilization, all existences that stand in front of me will be destroyed by me. But, Jingnan, neither you nor I have a choice. I am the god of war in Kamigawa, and the meaning of my birth is to fight for Kamigawa civilization. You are an angel. If the angelic civilization encounters a crisis, you will never stand idly by. Therefore, there is no such thing as being an enemy or not, there is only a choice between fighting or not fighting. But now that Kamigawa has chosen to fight, you angels will not choose to retreat, so we have no choice. We are just part of our respective civilizations, and the only way to move forward is to be coerced by civilization. After Texas finished speaking, the faint bitterness on his face receded, and his whole person returned to the resolute look it had at the beginning. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 1118. After hearing what Texas said, Jingnan also disconnected the communication and contacted the deputy captain of the Xiangbing Company. Is Lu Chuang, God of War of Nyoxing, online? Please reply if you receive it. I'm here, what can I say to you, angel girl? On the other end of the communication, the black cutting machine in Lu Chuang's hand had just chopped the head of a beast-shaped super soldier, and he quickly replied after hearing this. Although Jingnan wanted to correct Lu Chuang's name for him, now was not the time to dwell on it. Lu Chuang, a troublesome god has appeared on Skyblade number 86, and you need to defeat him. Can you make time for this task now? Although it was a question, the meaning could not be rejected, and Lu Chuang said simply, promise to carry out the mission and open a door for me. You can't let me run through. Lu Chuang made a rare joke, but he didn't get a response from the other end of the communication, which made him a little regretful. But Lu Chuang soon put these thoughts behind him, because a space wormhole opened in front of him. Lu Chuang rushed in without any hesitation, and the surrounding scenery changed instantly, from the deck of the Destruction-class battleship to the vast platform inside the Skyblade. The burning wreckage of the aircraft, the beast warriors and angel corpses that fell on the platform together created a tragic scene. But just for a moment, a figure attracted Lu Chuang's attention. It was a being very similar to him, wearing the same thick black armor and a battle axe. Grandpa thought he was calling me here, but it turns out it's just to kill you. This brother's surname is Noble, and I, Lu Chuang, will not kill an unknown ghost with my axe. Lu Chuang said nonsense nonchalantly, but the action of holding the black cutter in his hands told everyone that he was very cautious now. Texas frowned slightly when he first saw Lu Chuang, because the warrior who suddenly appeared from the wormhole in front of him emitted energy fluctuations that were very similar to his. Who are you? Nyoxing War God should have fallen. Soon Texas thought of the source of this energy fluctuation, Nyoxing God of War. You said Nyoxing War God, they called me that, but I don't even know where Nyoxing is and what he does as Nyoxing War God. So you should call me Lu Chuang. This is my name, not some Nyoxing God of War. I see, you are the bearer of the super gene of the Nyoxing God of War, and my body also contains some of the technical achievements of the Nyoxing God of War project. No wonder it feels familiar. It seems that the next battle between us will be a collision of anti-void god-making projects. This is really ironic. The god-building project established to fight against the void is now fighting for the void. Although Texas was smiling, there was an inexplicable sadness to it. But Lu Chuang didn't think so much. His goal here was to kill the opponent. As the two sides fell into silence, the battle began the next moment, with the black cutting and god-killing battle axes slashing at each other, making an ear-splitting roar. The blazing dark energy and purple void energy escaped in all directions, cutting long marks on the platform. It's so exciting. Lu Chuang's face turned red and he had used all his strength. It was rare that he did not overwhelm the opponent in terms of strength. Texas also used all his strength, but he did not speak. Finding that he could not overwhelm the opponent based on his own strength, Texas immediately changed his tactics. Seeing Texas retreating, Lu Chuang reluctantly lifted up the black cutter and slashed it down again. This time, the power was stronger because Lu Chuang had already released some of his dark energy conversion efficiency. Texas did not choose to face Lu Chuang's attack head-on. Instead, he turned to one side to dodge, and at the same time, he swept the tomahawk in his hand and threw out a dark purple arc. Lu Chuang's expression changed slightly when he saw this, and he quickly lifted the handle of the black cutting axe in front of him. In the next moment, he slid back several meters. At this time, Texas had already rushed over, dragging his tomahawk, and slashed hard at Lu Chuang. Lu Chuang had lost the opportunity. As the saying goes, one step was missed and every step was missed. Facing Texas' slashing attacks, he could only stagger back and resist. Just looking at the fighting movements of the two, it seems that they are just slashing with cold weapons, but the speed is too fast. However, the broken and deep metal platform under their feet and the long and narrow cuts left beside them prove that each blow is powerful enough to split the armor of a battleship. You must know that the platform of Skyblade is not an ordinary alloy, but the most widely used special alloy among angels. Its strength is enough to withstand the firebombing of ordinary warships. But even a metal platform with such strength began to be overwhelmed by the aftermath of the battle between the two. At the same time, on several other Skyblades, several well-known beings among the angels were approached by gods from Kamigawa. Angel Yan was dragged by a Kamigawa goddess holding a giant gun. The precise beam sniper and powerful firepower made it difficult for Angel Yan to get close. The same is true for Elan. He is a Kamigawa war god who fights with his bare hands. His powerful close combat makes it difficult for Elan, who is close to him, to get rid of his opponent. Angel Leng, Hizui and other angels were surrounded by a large number of animal super warriors, and they had to stay there to assist the angel warriors in breaking out. Only Angel Ran had her hands free after clearing the animal civilization troops near her, and she immediately received Jingnan's order to go to number 86 Skyblade to assist Lu Chuang in killing Kamigawa war god Texas. Hearing this name, Ran was a little surprised, because she also knew this Kamigawa god of war. After all, he had fought alongside the queen. But now is not the time to remember the past, let's go over to support Lu Chuang first. By the time Ran arrived at number 86 Skyblade, Lu Chuang was already at an absolute disadvantage in the battle with Texas. There were several hideous wounds on his body, and granular blood was oozing out. Texas just added a few cuts on his armor. Regarding the battle between gods, Lu Chuang is too young after all, and is not as experienced as Texas in combat. If it were not for the characteristics of Nyoxing's god of war, Lu Chuang would have been killed by Texas. Under the axe. This is also the reason why Jingnan didn't call for a god-level angel to come over, but instead asked Lu Chuang to come over. As a divine body with the same characteristics as Texas and similar power, even if he can't defeat the opponent, he can still be restrained. Now that Lu Chuang's mission has been completed, Ran, who was once one of the sacred wings, has arrived at the scene. With the two top third-generation gods joining forces, Texas' chance of victory is extremely slim. As a Kamigawa battle god with rich combat experience, Texas naturally saw that the situation was extremely unfavorable to him, but he did not retreat. Rather than saying that he didn't want to retreat, it was better to say that Texas's movements had the implication of seeking death. Ran was keenly aware of this as soon as he fought against Texas. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 1119. The rushing thunder and lightning were like waves, engulfing the figure of Texas, burning like a god of thunder surrounded by thunder. The lightning obeys its command, and the thunder dances for it. Texas, on the other hand, was like a rock that stood firm against the waves of raging waves, and stood up in the sea of thunder and lightning. Seeing this, Ran also changed his fighting method. The originally rushing torrent of lightning began to quickly converge and turned into an endless surge of blades on the Thunder Sword. He is indeed an angel who has won the title of Thunder God of War. His use of thunder tactics is really unique. Texas sighed in admiration. He had seen Binghua's thunderous tactics before, and it was so fast that it was difficult to react. Ran, on the other hand, walked openly and overwhelmingly, but it was obvious that Ran's thunder tactics were not enough to defeat him, the Kamigawa God of War. Lu Chuang, can you still hold on? Ran did not directly attack. This was not the time for a duel. If there were qualified teammates nearby, it would be better to communicate in advance. It's okay, my body is very strong, I can still bear this small injury. Lu Chuang felt much better after resting for a while. Although his divine body was not an invincible body characterized by recovery speed, the divine body still had the basic self-repair capabilities. Okay, you will attack my flank later, and we will take him down together. Understood, angel girl, just watch out. Lu Chuang, don't know anything else, but I will never be ambiguous in a fight. After Lu Chuang finished speaking, he picked up the black cutting aside and strode towards Texas. The extremely active dark energy formed an effect similar to a burning flame all over his body. When Lu Chuang charged, Ranye swooped out and arrived near Texas first. The thunder sword in his hand pulled out a blue stream of light with the blessing of extreme speed. Texas looked solemn, raised his god-killing battle axe and struck it upwards, choosing to go head-to-head. There was a loud bang, followed by a hissing sound of lightning. Texas frowned and involuntarily took a few steps back to distance himself, using void energy to expel the thunder and lightning that kept moving around on his body. Naturally, Ran would not miss such a good opportunity. He stepped forward, folded the wings behind him slightly to speed up, and slashed out one after another with the thunder sword in his hand. Seeing this, Texas raised the tomahawk in his hand in front of him and used the wider sides to block Ran's attack. Although the surging lightning troubled Texas, as long as it didn't penetrate his body and destroy him from the inside, the divine body can still resist for a while. After seeing that his strong attack could not break through Texas' defense, Ran stopped being greedy and suddenly stopped his momentum and retreated backwards. At this time, Lu Chuang took the opportunity to take over Ran's position. The black cutter in his hand glowed with a dazzling scorching glow, and he struck Texas with several rapid blows. There were deafening buzzes one after another, making the entire sky blade seem to be trembling. Although Texas resisted these blows, his defensive posture was also destroyed. At this time, the wandering Ran accelerated suddenly approached, dragging out a brilliant electric light in the air, and swept towards Texas' side. Texas quickly turned sideways, but it was already too late. Angels were already good at high-speed raids, let alone a raid launched by an angel of the third generation of gods. By the time he noticed it, Ran had already arrived at his side, and the thunder sword left a hideous and narrow wound on his side. Ran was not very satisfied with this. If Texas hadn't dodged in the end, he would have had the chance to cut the opponent in half just now. At this time, Lu Chuang pressed forward again with a wink, giving Ran an opportunity to raid again. Texas also knew that if this continued, he would most likely suffer heavy losses in the next Ran attack, so he became ruthless. Facing Lu Chuang's attack, Texas blocked Lu Chuang's attack and kicked Lu Chuang hard on his knees. Lu Chuang gritted his teeth and fought hard, because he knew that he was not fighting alone. Ran did not give up this good opportunity and swooped in from behind Texas. Texas naturally noticed the powerful dark energy fluctuation approaching rapidly from behind, and the energy conversion efficiency of the gene engine was suddenly released to the maximum. The rich void energy immediately burned like a flame around Texas, and even the armor on his body had purple cracks due to being overwhelmed. Such high-intensity driving energy will naturally cause harm to itself, but Texas can no longer worry about so much. Raising his right leg, Texas flew away Lu Chuang, who was in the way. Texas turned around and the tomahawk in his hand suddenly swept a surging purple arc upward behind him. Ran, who was in a state of extreme speed dive, could no longer stop. He leaned back in desperation and watched the purple arc of energy pass by in front of his eyes. Then Ran quickly turned and circled to adjust her position, but from the corner of her eye she caught sight of Texas jumping near her, and the god-killing battle axe held high in his hand. After a burst of roar, Ran fell to the Tianren platform below like a cannonball. However, when approaching the platform, Ran reorganized his posture, turned over backwards, landed on the ground and slid for more than 10 meters, removing most of it. Impact. As soon as Ran looked up, he saw Texas dragging his tomahawk and rushing over. If he took off at this moment, he would easily be caught by the enemy. Ran immediately lowered his body weight and quickly swung the Thunder Sword forward with several blasts of Thunder Sword Chi, trying to force Texas to slow down his charge. But Texas had no intention of evading. He raised his left arm and forcibly dispersed Ran's thunderous sword energy. This behavior completely demonstrated why his genetic model was called the Kamigawa God of War. Reason. The next moment, Texas and Ran entered into a close hand-to-hand combat. The purple void energy collided with the flashing and rushing thunder and lightning, bursting out bursts of dazzling light. Faced with Texas' extremely powerful attack, Ran Quan chose to guide it to one side, and at the same time used his speed to carry out high-frequency attacks, which was faster than Texas. Texas naturally has enough experience in dealing with this type of enemy. No matter how Ran attacks, Texas will greet Ran's head and chest. Faced with Texas' injury for lifestyle, Ran was a little helpless, but Texas seemed to have forgotten Lu Chuang's existence. Ran found the right moment, aimed the Thunder Sword in his hand at the gap on the side of Texas' tomahawk, and stabbed it, temporarily blocking Texas's action of slashing the tomahawk. Texas made a decisive decision and took the opportunity to hand over Ran's weapons. Naturally, Ran would not let the other side succeed easily. The two sides began to wrestle, but Ran soon fell into a disadvantage. Angel's divine body has always followed a balanced path. In terms of pure strength competition, it is naturally unable to compete with Kamigawa God of War, not to mention that both parties are third-generation gods. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 1120. Just as Texas and Ran were wrestling, Lu Chuang had already come closer. The black cut of the battle axe in his hand was raised high, and the dazzling dark energy glow spread all over the axe body, and the space it crossed seemed to be divided. Became two halves. After all, Texas chose to kick up and send Ran away. He turned around and tried to attack with the god-killing battle axe in his hand. As soon as the purple void energy emerged, he was split in two from the middle. The huge energy followed the direction of Lu Chuang's attack, creating a bottomless gap in the sky blade platform under his feet. It extends all the way to the edge of the Tianren platform. An arm of Texas fell to the ground along with half of the god-killing battle axe in his hand. How could the energy gathered in a hurry be able to block Lu Chuang's charged blow? Therefore, his defeat was due to his decision to face two men of the same level. When God comes, it has already been destined. When Texas covered his shoulder-high wound and staggered back, a sword blade with piercing thunder pierced through his chest. The next moment, the thunderous energy on the blade surged, and dazzling energy arcs appeared all over Texas. As the man behind Texas withdrew his weapon and left, Texas' body fell backwards on the platform. Because the terrifying energy is released inside the divine body, and the god-killing energy virus carried by the Thunder Sword itself, even Texas with 3 generations of divine bodies cannot withstand such devastation. It's really awesome, but in this way I can be considered as fulfilling the mission of Kamigawa God of War. Born to protect the divine river, and died to revive the divine river. With the last words spoken by Texas, his body lying on the ground began to turn into fine energy particles and disintegrate due to the collapse of the super gene. "Are you okay?" Angel girl. Lu Chuang hurried to Ran's side and looked at him. Just now he could see that Ran had been hit hard by Texas several times. I'm not injured, and I need to correct you, I'm not an angel girl. Also, I am over 20,000 years old, so you should call me the Archangel of Judgment. Ran corrected with a slightly serious tone. After hearing this, Lu Chuang turned around and scratched his hair in embarrassment, muttering in a low voice. You don't look very old. You are over 20,000 years old. With the fall of Texas, the free-handed Ran posed a powerful threat to the Beast Body civilization, directly causing the formation of the Beast Body civilization fleet attacking in one direction to collapse. At the same time, while taking advantage of the time entangled with the three Kamigawa war gods, Binghua also completed the repair of his damaged sacred atoms and recovered most of his condition. In this regard, Mo Shui and others, who initially wanted to surround and kill the King of Angels, but now only want to hold them back, did not know that the King of Angels' condition had almost recovered. I have been entangled with you for so long and haven't even come out of space. It seems that he can't get away for the time being. In this case, I should go and have a chat with your principal. Hearing Binghua's words, Mo Shui and the force of Kamigawa immediately became nervous, because the space principal was now reshaping his body with the help of Kasha and Lan Bing. Seeing their attitudes, Binghua confirmed his suspicion. The space principal was indeed doing some shameful things, otherwise he wouldn't have driven the animal civilization to hinder their angels from sealing the eyes of the void. Thinking of this, Binghua's originally lazy eyes changed, and the aura exuding from his body became colder, which immediately aroused the vigilance of the three gods of Kamigawa. The first is the Kamigawa sniper. With so many shots, all your sniper points have already been included in my calculations. Binghua turned back before he could finish his words. In the opened wormhole, dozens of flaming swords with red glowing blades shot out and entered another micro wormhole. Seeing this, Mo Shui quickly reminded Mo Ran to move over the communication, but it was already too late. It all happened too suddenly. As soon as Mo Ran moved to a sniper point he had used before, a wormhole was formed in the void in front of him. The next moment, dozens of streams of light shot out from it. Mo Ran's eyes widened, and his supercomputing power immediately began to calculate the ballistic trajectories of these attacks. But what made Mo Ran despair was that the attack spread of these flaming swords was too carefully calculated, covering all directions where she could dodge. Although she tried hard to dodge, there were still three flaming swords that penetrated her right chest, left abdomen, and thigh respectively, flying it several meters and nailing it to the asteroid. After Mo Shui contacted Mo Ran several times and found that he could not be reached, the power of the divine river could still feel his anger and hatred even through the mask. Mo Shui, we need to calm down. The other party is the King of Angels. If you are not careful, you and I will fall into her hands. Facing the dissuasion from the power of Kamigawa, Mo Shui's chest rose and fell a few times before suppressing the strong desire to take action immediately. Binghua looked at the scene without any emotion and just said something. Your tactics and technologies were all produced more than 10,000 years ago. Although some technologies for driving void energy have been added, they are still backward. Nowadays, with weapons that can be operated accurately from dozens of light years away, the so-called god-killing sniper has long been unnecessary. There is really no way to refute Binghua's words. They have been asleep for more than half of the past 10,000 years, and after waking up, they have no chance to see today's top technologies. It is normal for them to misjudge in battle. Okay, enough of the unnecessary words, now it's your turn to die. As Binghua spoke, dazzling thunder and lightning flashed around his body. With a flash of dazzling lightning, Binghua's figure disappeared, and when he reappeared, he was already beside the power of Kamigawa. Seeing the power of Kamigawa, his expression changed drastically. He didn't even have time to use anti-void. The next second he felt a chill in his abdomen, and a rather gorgeous heavy sword penetrated his body and came out through his back. Mo Shui just reacted and slashed at Binghua with the void blade in his hand. But the next moment, Binghua drew out the Wang sword that pierced the divine river and turned around to slash, knocking Mo Shui back first. Just when Mo Shui wanted to escape into the void again, space wormholes had spread all over the area without knowing it. The sound of chains rubbing against each other was heard, and the god-beaming locks kept thrusting out of the wormhole, forcing Mo Shui to dodge backwards. But there were too many wormholes, and Mo Shui was unable to avoid them all in the end. The tip of the god-binding chain penetrated his thigh. As his movements were delayed for a moment, more chains penetrated his body, and it was hanging in mid-air. Looking at this scene, the force of Kamigawa retreated while holding his abdominal wound, and felt a trace of despair. He did not expect that the King of Angels was so dangerous. He had obviously been fighting back and forth before, but he would fall into a desperate death mirror in an instant. Seeing the look on Kamigawa's face, Binghua sighed, stepped closer to him, and spoke at the same time. Perhaps the battle with the God of the Void gave you an illusion, thinking that I am the kind of scientific angel who is good at driving technology but not good at fighting, and you happen to have anti-void and anti-dark energy technology. But, compared to fighting for energy reserves and energy output against supergiant enemies, I'm still better at killing humanoid gods like you.